Thank you.
Okay, with winning screenwriter Nancy Franklin, All the King's Horses is a script. It's from the Female Film Festival. It's a period piece, right, from the 1960s.
Correct. Yes.
Coming of age
19,
story.
pardon?
Coming of age story.
Yes, it's a coming of age story in a rural community in northern Washington state in the 1960s.
Are you from Northern Washington?
I am from Seattle, Washington, from Washington state. And I did my connection to the story is I did spend about every weekend until I was 12 or 13 up at my grandparents' farm in Lyndon, Washington, which is right on the Canadian border.
Yeah, I figured there was a little bit of autobiographical material in the script.
Right, what you know.
Yeah. And what motivated you to write it?
I think what motivated me to write it was all the things that I started to learn after my grandparents passed. I think in every family there are secrets and there are things that you're not told, and part of your coming of age, I think, is learning about that stuff. And as I started to learn about it, I started to become a little bit nostalgic. And then as I saw the way things were unraveling politically in this country, I thought there were a lot of parallels between what I grew up with and what was happening now.
And what was the parallels?
In the 1960s, there was a lot of civil unrest. Feminist movement was just getting started, civil rights, gay rights. Um, and again, we're experiencing all of that again now, where we're having challenges to those rights that have been established for 50, 60 years.
And then it's almost like when one organization becomes powerful, there's it's like yin and yang. There's another opposite organization that has opposite ideological aspects of that, like say feminism happened in the
Right.
70s, right? Where then there was
Correct.
anti-feminism, right? And then those organizations were just as powerful as each other.
Right, exactly. And I think what we've forgotten in all of this is the impact that it has on individuals and what that means for our humanity in general. So there's a phrase about those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. I think that's sort of where we're headed now, and we need to reclaim our humanity, our belief in our fellow human beings, and basically our general sense of kindness and acceptance.
Yeah, there's definitely been a divide, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I never heard of like I think I was reading a book. It's funny enough because it's not I don't believe in them ideologically, but I was reading Bill O'Reilly's book about presidents, and he was saying I just was reading it today. He was saying that it's the first like only when Bush's reign, the second Bush, is when there was blue states and red states. That was never talked about
Hmm.
before the 2000s. And then there was nobody ever discussed that. And all of a sudden, he kind of says it's cable news and the kind of like social media where like there's camps, different ideological camps, I guess, right? That
Right.
divides the
And we've
country.
all become more divisive as we've gone on. I mean, it's become literally red hats, blue hats, red states, blue states.
Yeah,
There's no middle ground. There doesn't seem to be any gray area. It's black or white. And I think we have to understand that humans definitely live in the gray area.
100%. Well, America is the for me as a Canadian is the analogy of centralism, right? So
Mhm.
where it's a
Yeah.
very centralist country where like everybody kind of is a little bit left, a little bit right. And so it kind of boggles the mind that there's this divide that's happening.
Right. And let me just apologize now to all the Canadians.
It's
not,
all good.
not all of us are on board with what's going on in our country. So,
Yeah, half of the population, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So then you that's what kind of motivated you to write this kind of 1960s coming of age story script?
Well, it was sort of, again, there were some family secrets that came out, and I just spun them in a
Gotcha.
way that was reactive to what would have been happening then and the parallels that I see
Yeah.
now. But, that way of life, for me, it was very idyllic, but it was also cloaked in a lot of stuff that you're not shown when you're a child. And when you get older and your parents start talking, and, when your parents are passing, it's kind of like, the torch of storytelling where you ask questions and you learn some things that you didn't know before. And as I started talking to, my mother and my aunts and my sisters, you get a different perspective.
Mhm.
So what you thought was going on may not be what everyone else's experience was. And the more I thought of that, the more some of this dovetailed into the politics, some of it dovetailed into um, the things that we accept now and the things that we would never accept now that were just common back in the 1960s. I talk a little bit about the county fair, and they used to have what was called a freak show, and they literally had people that the bearded lady and the
Yeah.
tallest man and all that stuff. We would never dream of doing that today, and yet social media has become our freak show. And not to get on not to get on a soapbox or anything,
Yeah.
but this need to see people who are different than we are and to compare ourselves and to mock what's different is really not what we had hoped for and aspired to as a country and as a people. So, that's the grand scheme of things. On the smaller scale, some of these people I knew, their way of life, um, I knew, and I really wanted to see it continue. There are scenes in the movie or in the script that I would like to see turned into a movie just to preserve the skill and the art that I saw in some of the horsemen back in the 1960s.
So you're still, are you saying it's kind of not, it's kind of a lost art in a lot of ways?
I think it's going to be. And, again, it's just I've seen the decline in, again, when I get to a county fair, I see some of the things that I remembered from the 1960s and from growing up just not being done anymore. And they were really spectacular. They were spectacles, if you will. And I'd like to see some of that stuff preserved on film in a way that, makes some sense.
So you mentioned the freak show. What else is missing at the county fair?
Um, Again, that's one of the things. There's a particular scene in the movie where, at least in this county fair, they would have what they called the free drive, which was really probably six horse draft horse hitches pulling a wagon, and they would do a very tight figure eight on a racetrack area at full tilt. I
Hmm.
mean, galloping horses doing figure eights tightly and, just letting it all hang out. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous spectacle and a wonderful way of seeing the expertise and the training and the horses doing all of this stuff naturally. It was just for me as a child, it was the most wonderful thing I could see. It was a highlight of the fair for me, more so than the games and the rides and the food, was just seeing, my grandparents out there doing that for the sheer love of it, because it wasn't their profession, but
Right.
they were just horsemen.
Well, if it could happen and your grandparents could read this script or watch the movie, what would they think?
Mm. Good question. I've run this by my sisters, who, of course, lived the experience with me, and some of it is very uncomfortable for them and makes them cry. I think my grandparents would be of two minds. Um, One mind would be that they would be appalled, um, because I think there were things back then that you simply didn't do
Yeah.
or that you didn't talk about, and they would be appalled to think that I knew that. Um, and secondarily, I think they'd be proud that I would be wanting to commemorate what they did, what they stood for, the type of people they were.
So they'd be polarized a little bit.
Yes. Well, they were a different generation.
Because
You,
you're kind of like
um,
telling the family secrets in a sense.
yeah, in a sense. And I don't, and again, without their perspective of having, you know, today's acceptance of certain things, I'm not sure, like mental health. I mean, we're a lot more accepting of mental health problems than they were back in the 60s,
Yeah.
and so I'm not sure if they wouldn't be relieved to know that we've come so far, or whether they would just, because they were set in their ways, that this was stuff you didn't talk about.
Yeah.
You were ostracized. You were, I mentioned in the script that I'm left-handed. My grandfather literally told my parents that they should tie my left hand behind my back
Yeah.
so I wouldn't use it because that was a mark of the devil.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe it is, but
Well, I'm
we
left-handed too, so that means we're both devils talking to a devil. So
yeah, exactly. So, I would hope we've come a long way from looking at some of those things.
sure.
And it, so, again, polarizing to the extent of
Yeah.
where they would be in their thinking.
Yeah. I just had a conversation at a dinner party about the left-handed because it still happens in some cultures, right? Like
Yep.
they do
Yep.
that. And it's kind of crazy if you think about it because what's the big deal, right? But I'm
Right.
left-handed, so yeah, yeah. So but yeah, it is considered a devil in some cultures, right? Still to this day.
Yeah, exactly. And, still today, when you tell people you're left-handed, they look at you astonished. It's like, what's the big deal? It's
Yeah.
10% of the population, but
I
okay.
think it's growing. I think it's getting even more because I think there's no more of that stigma, right? So
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I haven't looked at the statistics lately, but I'm always amazed when people go, "Oh, you're left-handed."
yeah,
It's not even something I would notice anymore.
yeah. Oh, I'm such a left-handed snob. I always notice when someone's left-handed and I point it out to them that
Oh, well,
they're
okay.
part of
Then
the club.
it's like joining the club.
My wife laughs at me because she thinks I'm like a left-handed snob, right? So because
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
we're the
yeah, yeah.
special ones of the society. So
Yeah, well, if anyone notices it, that's exactly what I say. I'm special, you're not.
yeah, exactly. Well, think about the U.S. presidents, right? So Clinton was left-handed, Obama's left-handed, George Herbert Walker Bush was left-handed, Reagan was left-handed.
Oh,
The
now see,
current
you thought of
president is
this a
not
lot more.
left-handed, right?
Yeah,
So
that explains a lot.
yeah. So I don't know. It's like,
There.
it's maybe we're all power hungry. Maybe that's it. So
Yeah, yeah, must be.
yeah. So tell me about your process writing. You've written a lot, right? You said too many
Mm,
stories to count. You've written three screenplays so
yeah.
far. What I'm just curious because did you get into screenplays after you started writing short stories and essays?
Um, no, actually, this started a long time ago. I
Yeah.
took some UCLA extension classes, and I actually got a script a long time ago to Carsey Werner Productions, who was currently had the #1 show Roseanne. And then life got in the way. I got married. I had two kids. I went off and did marketing communications, but always in the back of my mind was I just wrote. I wrote
Yeah.
everything from satirical holiday newsletters to satirical ads. Did presentations for our corporation that were funny, and then I said, okay, well, let's go back and see what we can do. So I started writing essays, took some classes online during the pandemic. This all started back in the pandemic when we were
Okay.
all locked up, so we had nothing to do. So, okay, writing. Did a lot of essays, got a lot of acceptance on the satirical humor side, started my website, and then said, okay, let's see what else we can do. And so I started writing a novel. I did the NaNoWriMo, which is the, write a novel in 30 days before that structure collapsed. So I finished the novel. And then I was sort of struggling because it seemed like a lot of great stories without a plot. So I said, okay, let's take it to a screenplay and see if we can straighten all this out. So I then converted it to a screenplay and have been working on it ever since.
Oh wow.
And then again, took a couple of classes. So I have, two more. I have a Hallmark movie, I have a comedy, holiday movie, and then I have this one, and I've got two more started.
And this is all from in the last 5 years
Correct.
since COVID. So COVID did well for you, and some
I loved COVID. Not so
yeah,
much having it and not the disruption, but it forced me to go and find stuff to do that wasn't, watching Netflix, which I did.
yeah,
But it just gave me an opportunity to do things that I hadn't had time to do. And when everybody went online, there are some fabulous free classes or very low cost classes that will get you right into it. And you meet other people, and it was wonderful.
That is wonderful. And so now then what motivated you to send it like the festivals like ours?
Well, I finally said, okay, I've always said this about marketing. It's not marketing until you get it out there. You can sit and manipulate it all day long and make corrections and, tweak grammar and all of that stuff. But until you get it out there, you're not going to know how you fare in the world.
Mhm.
So I just said, okay, these are ready enough to get out there and see how they stack up. And fortunately, I've been very lucky. I mean, I don't have an agent yet, but all three of my scripts have placed somewhere um, in at least the quarterfinalists or above. And one
Right.
of them, this one, of course, is a winner in your film festival. And another script I wrote was a top 10 finalist. So I feel like,
You must be doing something right then.
well, I hope so. But again, no manager yet, no agent yet, no purchase yet. But I
Yeah.
feel like I'm getting opportunities to pitch and opportunities to get my work out there.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting time right now, right? But so if you're only 5 years in and this is what you accomplished, that's pretty fantastic. So
Well,
obviously,
and
good.
I think about this and I go, okay, with this particular script, it's been in my head for 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it went to novel first and then came out as screenplay. But I think when you're a writer, there are things like that there's a story that you want to write.
Hmm.
Uh, and as storytellers, there's always that one thing that you want to tell the world. And this was it. So, not that the other pieces aren't passion projects, but this one is very close
This
to
is
my heart.
personal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
said your sisters have read it?
Yeah. My sisters read it. And of course, their experiences are slightly different, but there were parts that we all shared. And, some of those they said they couldn't get through.
Where do you
So
like how many sisters do you have?
I have two younger sisters. I'm the eldest of three daughters.
Okay. So you have the elder perspective, I guess, right?
Yes. Yeah. The elder perspective, the having to pave the way, having to be the first one to,
Yeah.
break the barrier on when you could wear makeup and pantyhose, you know, the whole girl thing, when you could have your first date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is an interest. Like there is a lot of people have talked about that. There's a lot of parallels with the '60s and now, right? Where it was,
Yeah.
very much a turbulent time, right? Like I
Right.
guess it started the '60s. They say started with Kennedy's assassination, right? So
Yep.
in many ways, and
Yeah.
then other
Kennedy and then
assassinations
Martin Luther.
occurred.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said, and other assassinations occurred, unfortunately, too, right?
Yeah.
Later on the decade. So
Yep. And then you think of all the, that was around the time that the birth control pill was popular. Um, Feminism started to
yeah,
rise, the gay rights with Stonewall. Um, all of that was happening then. And it led me to start thinking about what about people like my grandparents and others who, before those things happened, just were very private and you couldn't talk about it because
yeah,
it literally meant your life. You couldn't talk about mental illness. You couldn't talk about homosexuality. I mean, how those people must have had to live,
yeah,
what they must have had to do to protect themselves and their families and to not live their authentic selves, I think was what kept kind of running through my head. And the question I kept asking was, were they living their authentic selves? And I don't know that they were. And that's the question mark that hangs over this. And that's where this deviates from reality is that I'll never know that
yeah.
because nobody talked about it and nobody ever asked.
And how many do you
You know,
think do you think that we're how many people do you think are percentage of people are actually living their authentic selves now in this privilege
um,
we live in?
that's a good question. And I think that probably a lot more are. And kudos to those who are living that out and militantly, if you will, that just refuse to stop living their authentic selves. And I think um, that's kind of what we all should be looking towards. And the things you believe in, you need to stand up for.
Yeah,
But back in the day, there was no opportunity to do that. And I fear we're going back to a day when we can't do it anymore either.
Yeah. Well, but that said, we're still stronger than we were. Like it puts things in perspective as well, right?
Yeah.
There's very powerful organizations that help with mental illness, help with homosexuality. You know what I mean? Like they're there,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the difference is that we now have the organizations and we now have people willing to stand up.
yeah,
But I'm afraid that if those organizations, take a major blow,
yeah,
uh, what's going to happen? And if the rest of us don't support those organizations, where are we going to be?
yeah. Well, I'll go back to we were talking about at the beginning. It's yin and yang, and that's my theory in life. Where like one strong, powerful organization happens, then the exact opposite gets just as strong, right? So.
Right,
And in the battle of life is to stay in the gray area so things don't get the
right.
outsiders don't get too powerful. Right.
Exactly. And I don't think enough of us in the gray area are standing up. I think we're starting to.
Yeah.
And, I think we saw that here with, dare I say it, the Jimmy Kimmel issue for late night
Yeah.
TV. I think you started to see it, but whether that you know, will be the wave that carries us forward, that remains to be seen.
Yeah. Well, because this is what I do for a living, but like so the Bill Maher show, I don't know if you watch it, he's pretty on the middle. He takes shots at both sides and he
Right.
gets crazy ratings. Like his ratings are very strong, like in the 10
Yeah.
millions. And
But
so
and he's in the middle. I mean, that's the
he's in
thing.
the middle,
Is
but
it?
I'm saying he's only one example I could think of top of my head.
Yeah,
So,
well, you're right. That's the only one I can think of too at the top of my head.
yeah.
And
But what I'm saying is that, but he gets crazy. His ratings are very strong, right? So,
yeah, exactly. And he entertains both sides. He has
yeah,
guests on both sides of the spectrum. So it's a good conversation, and they all seem to leave not hating each other at
yeah.
the end of the show.
That
So,
said, I think that the left needs to get out there more and stop being and because there's like Blue Sky, right, which is
right.
seems to be the antithesis of Twitter, which is like they're the extreme left, which is fine, but those people are not going to get elected in the states. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
And, we're already seeing some of the stuff that's happened in recent votes, at least,
yeah,
for us,
yeah,
where we've had people saying, okay, I'm voting for this because I'm getting my constituents something they want.
yeah.
And part of me says, well, yeah, that's kind of how it's supposed to work. But in doing that, you've unleashed the Kraken on the rest of us. So it's a weird time we're living in.
It
And
is.
I just,
It's good to, but I think that's why your script, well, not only because it's well written, but I think it has an emotional punch to it. Just to be very general about it, because I think that that's why it's getting awards and it's getting traction because there's something there that and I love how you even said that like it's about the 60s, it's about coming of age of this woman, but you can parallel it till today, right? Like I think that's what great period pieces are about something that occurred in past, but there's an emotional connection to today. So I think that's
yeah.
why people, yeah. So I think that it's fantastic. It must have been good therapy for you too to finish it as well.
Yes, but I'm still noodling with it.
You're still
It's
moving
like,
with it,
yeah, I'm still trying to, there are things you need to do in scripts to kind of keep the attention and stuff flowing. And, I get real close to it and then I have to kind of back away. Like I backed away from the novel for easily 2 years, didn't even look at it, and then
yeah.
said, okay, how am I going to tackle this? So it's really only been in the last probably 2.5 years that I've come back to it with a vengeance and really said, I'm going to make this happen. And and each time I get a little closer, I feel like, okay, this is what I want to say because there's so much in there about, where where we were, where we are today, the things we're facing that we were facing a while back.
Mhm.
Um, I still think about, you know, daughters and granddaughters and, all the women coming up, there's like, okay, women are going to be held to the same standards now in the military. And I'm thinking, Oh man, I thought we already fought that battle.
Yeah, I know.
Roe v. Wade, I thought we already fought that battle too. We seem to be fighting for the same ground in every battle, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I know. But then again,
Yeah.
they'll get a new president in 3 years and things will change back, hopefully. So
From your lips to the voting booths. That's all I have to
just get
say.
the Democrats to make sure that they don't go too crazy to the left. That's all. That's the worry of the rest of the world. Just
Yeah, that's my feeling too. Just bring it back a little bit.
bring it
There's
back
got
and
to be,
try to get elected. Don't try to like be morally superior to somebody else, right? Make
yeah,
compromises.
exactly. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what democracy is supposed to be about. Compromise.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's my 2 cents. You just said you got on the soapbox. That's my soapbox of the day.
Yeah, everybody has a soapbox.
Thank you so much for the script and congratulations on it. I wish you the ultimate best success with it. I hope that we showcase more of your work in the future. And yeah,
Great.
keep at it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
And I love your background too.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Thank you.